Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Irish EV Association, and welcome to the Info Circuit. We are back on a lovely Tuesday. It's been quite a lovely day, considering we haven't had a summer up to this point in time. I think everybody I've spoken to has said, "Where is the summer?" I think the last 2 days have kind of landed, particularly here in Limerick. Anyway, it's been good enough from our side that we have we have the good weather. So I'm delighted to have people with us here this evening. It is fantastic to have people here, and welcome. So where are we? We are on episode 5. And I'm going to bring this up to the stage here. So the Info Circuit episode 5. And this evening we are going to be talking with GoPlugable. We have had a lot of interest, a lot of people talking to us about it. People are enjoying it. They are quite happy to see the bit of information coming out of it. We are more than happy to have people come on board and talk to everybody. And it's going to be a good one again this evening. Andreen, I'm going to bring you up. Welcome to the stage. How are you, sir?
All good, all good. Thank you, Matthew, for having me. It's hard to follow up after you have the likes of Noel from My Energy in the last info circuit on this, but happy to be here.
It's a brilliant one. Myself and Derek were talking about it is summertime. People are going on holidays. People are doing things and disappearing off into lots of wonderful places to do stuff. And we said, will we give it a break, or will we keep the momentum going and keep it up and running? So we said, look, we're going to chance GoPlugable. We said we'll see if we can get you guys. Make sure you're not on holidays. You know, a lot of people are gone, so we got you. We're delighted to have you. So welcome to the stage this evening, Andreen, and welcome to GoPlugable. So I suppose for people who aren't aware, give me a quick introduction to yourself, and give me a quick introduction to who is and what is GoPlugable.
All right. So my name is Andrew Mendes. I'm one of the founders of GoPlugable, along with my co-founder Mayor Reynolds. We started this journey a year back almost. The idea was very simple. I used to live in Dundalk in a rented house. Used to drive one of the Nissan Leafs, my first EV, and I mean there was this. These were times where I think EV charging was still almost free towards the end of it, I would say, in Ireland long back. But yeah, my problem was simple. I used to live in a rented house and I couldn't charge my car at home because my landlord wouldn't allow me to install a home charger, which means I was too dependent on public charging. I was always stuck every time I had to go to Dublin, and I was looking for solutions. So that's kind of where this whole thing started. So we went on to do a bit of research. Of course, we spoke to again EV Association, bit of a survey and all that, and realized that this is a problem for a lot of people. In fact, from our survey, around 40% of new and existing EV drivers have this issue because they live in apartments or rented houses, and sometimes obviously no driveways or parkways as well. So that's the problem we were off to solve. So we started piloting January of this year. We have our app live in App Store. So if you just search Go Pluggable or Pluggable, you can find them. Download. It's free to download. You can onboard yourself as a host. So for folks who don't know what it really does, essentially it is a marketplace for EV charger sharing, which means if you have an EV home charger, you can rent it out for a fixed amount of money. You can charge customers a per kilowatt hour amount of money for a charger. You can charge people for parking if you're living in city limits, and help people like me who don't have access to home charger book your EV chargers and pay you money, and kind of do this frequently. So eventually helping more people switch to electric. So that's what Go Pluggable is here to do. We are trying to champion slow charging, which needs a champion because no one else seems to be bothered about it. And I'm guessing we'll talk about a
Yep,
lot more here today.
we will. We will. I suppose it is the type thing. It is the forgotten cousin, I think, is the way you could describe it at the minute. It's the one that nobody really is in the front of mind when they talk about charging their electric vehicle, particularly in the general populace. As you say, majority of people are going to have them. to it. So we are in a situation where it's that I wouldn't call it a minority, but a smaller percentage of people are in that situation where they are going to be looking for something that is their full-time solution. And I suppose we're going to come on to it and talk about it, but GoPlugable isn't just for those people, I suppose, that are just uh, this is their full-time solution. It's going to be for other people as well. So
Yeah.
we'll get into that as well in a small bit. But from your side, you know, yourself and Maeve, there's the two of you. Give us an overview of when it kicked off. Where how things started for you guys when you got into it all. Like, bring us back to the start. What you saw, what was in there at the beginning.
So in the beginning, obviously there was the problem, right? For me, it was more personal in terms of finding a solution for this. Now I looked at a simple solution where my neighbor had a home charger. I could just walk in and ask for using that, pay him or her some money. But that conversation, it is complicated because this is frequent. We're not talking about a one time thing. I need it on a weekly basis to to do that. So we looked at how to solve it, and we found other solutions like co-charger in the UK has been someone who's been doing this for a while, fairly successful as well. We looked at that model. We saw what is interesting, we saw what is good, what is bad, and then we started working on it slowly. So when I was working on this, I was also doing my master's in DKIT, that's Dundalk Institute of Technology. And the first thing I realized is that I need a co-founder for this, because again, from my own personal experience, that it wasn't something I was willing to do on my own. So I
Mm,
started looking for co-founders, and interestingly, there was a program called as Co-Founders in Northern Ireland, which I
okay.
signed up for. And that's kind of a, what do you call that? It's a place where you meet other co-founders, of course, as the name
Yes.
suggests. And that's how I met me. She was just finishing her final year in mechanical engineering in Queen's University, so we had that university thing going on.
Mm,
And she had interest in the space. She had a bit of an experience in Danfoss Power, where she did work with some sort of green technology uh,
okay.
hardware interface as well. And as a person, she kind of liked the space, and was intrigued by what I was doing as well. And we kind of connected. We went off to actually be part of that program, where we were to create a team, come up with a business plan, and that's how GoPlugable essentially kick-started off. As a team, we met during this program, and we started off to work from there. She essentially leads the company. Again, if a lot of you might have heard about this before, you might not have really seen me because I've mostly been in the background. She's been the face of
Yeah.
this debate.
I don't think it's because you're shy anyway, Andreen. I
Uh,
know from our conversation that is far from the reason that you're probably interested in the other bits of it. Is the way I would describe it. That you're probably working away on the other side of it rather than being afraid to sit down and have the conversation. Because I
yeah,
know you're not like that. That's for
yeah,
sure.
definitely. No, that's it was there was a bit of a strategy there as well. Because this space needed a new voice in its sense. Now I am an EV driver for last 4 years, and of course I understand this problem, and again, Matthew, you might understand this as well. We
Yeah.
needed a new, fresh, neutral voice, because sometimes what happens is when we speak as EV drivers, it might come. I wouldn't say offensive, but it's sometimes because we like driving electric vehicles, and though there is not an outright war, sometimes when we speak about the good things of
Mhm.
owning and driving EV, that rhetoric is not always seen.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's taken as greenwashing. So for us, that was a strategy as well. Meave is now a very credible source of information for potential EV drivers. People look up to her in this space as well. So there was a definite plan and a strategy behind that.
Absolutely. I think it was episode 3 when Derek and I were talking about things, just the two of us, on updates from the Irish EV Association. And Derek made the comment, I think, on that episode where he said, look, we're in a bit of a, um, not a bucket, but in a place where we are in a chamber, so to speak, that we can be very easily found talking to the people who are interested in this space and are going to be able to see the positives. And it's very good to get that external perspective in many ways to be able to go, look, this is where things are at realistically.
Yeah,
We have to look at it from that side of things. So, yeah, it's a great thing to be able to do from your own side as a company to be able to do that. So, yeah, no, I can appreciate why why you would do that. It's a very good place to be at. So I suppose when you look at where you're at, uh, Go Plugable, we've seen why you do it. Where you've come from, your own situation with an Nissan Leaf. I think the majority of people who are in that early adopter phase have been in a Nissan Leaf at
that's
some point
great.
in time.
Yeah,
I think we've all been there.
yeah,
I've had two. They're fantastic cars. They're
yeah.
great to get in and get used to the world of EVs. There are a lot of new models coming that are fantastic in that way. But we've seen the problem statement. We understand that not everybody has a home charger, can get it. We can see it's going on to the other side of things where it's going to be a bigger issue in many ways than just that individual at home. So when we look at it from where Go Plugable is, and you know, I suppose treat it like let's look at it in a business update perspective. Let's look at Go Plugable from that side. What can you give us when and be that as a business, where are you trying to go with these things, and who are you talking to? I suppose where are you focused on?
So I'd like to probably also borrow again a bit from our good friends and co-charges, Joel's wording there. So I think the space we are in, the way he put it, we are essentially building an alternate base charging solution. So that's what we're building.
Mm,
For me, the better way I used to put it is championing slow charges. But sometimes people don't understand what slow charges are. So for the ease of clarity, I would say, yeah, we are building an alternate base charging solution. That's what we're doing, right? So we're not competing with fast chargers or public infrastructure. What we're doing
yeah,
essentially is complementing that structure. Because what happens, and this, Matthew, as an EV driver, it's not a one size fit all kind of a solution when it comes to charging, right? Because EV charging is not the same as an ICE car fuel experience, right? You go into a forecourt or a petrol station, you fuel your car. It's very different. I mean, the idea with
yeah,
EV is that you charge it while you're doing other things, while you're sleeping, while you're at work, while you're at gym, while you're at cinema, while you're traveling from point A to point B in a train or an airport. Now, the problem with the current rhetoric, obviously, and I understand where that is coming from, whereas public infrastructure needs fast charging. It is essential, but it's not that it's not a one fit solution, right?
mm,
Let me put some examples, right? So let's say you're going to airport and you leave your car there overnight or for 2 days and travel to London or somewhere and come back. Right now, if I am to do that, I need to go to the airport, leave my car there in a parking space, and then either before or after I come, I have to again go to a DC charging point nearby, wait, because what happens is if I plug it into an airport charging station, I will get idle fees. I have to pay because my car fully charges up in 30 minutes or maybe an hour in the DC network, and the rest of the time it's just sitting idle there. What we really need is slow charging, either a 7 kilowatt charger or even your typical granny 3-pin chargers is what you need, right? So what Go Plugable essentially is trying to do is create these alternate base charging solutions, or these slow charging solutions, um, which, like I said, is as important as fast charging. And the way we want to do it is by onboarding residentials and businesses as well. What that means is, if you're a homeowner, you have a driveway, and this driveway can potentially accommodate one more car, either by you having space to remove your car, or this just by of having space, you can onboard your EV home charger and help other EV drivers be part of this whole EV infrastructure building, because you're creating more charge points. As a homeowner, you make passive income. And if you're a business owner, again, you have space, parking for your employees or your customers. Use that again to leverage EV charging, not because you want to help just about EV infrastructure, but also this is a way for you to make additional money, get new customers. In fact, we did a survey together a couple of months back with Irish EV Association and EV Association Northern Ireland. We called it the Mobility State of Mobility Report for entire Ireland. And we saw that EV drivers, when we interviewed around 600 of them, they said that they would frequent and buy more things from a business if they have EV chargers. So our role as a business is simple. We want to help uh, private individuals like yourself and business owners be part of this EV infrastructure journey by giving them a platform or a software or a solution which will help them to manage this. So, payments, booking, that's all done by our platform. And that's kind of the business positioning we want to go into. We want to champion slow charges. We want to be that one place, charging solution for EV drivers in the future. So that's the business direction we want to go into.
So when I look at it from who we have businesses and we have individuals. Let's focus on the business aspect side of things first. Who are you talking to? What are you working with them on? And like you talked about EV chargers being on site and stuff, they can be an expensive asset that is there that might not be fully utilized. So, how are you approaching it from that aspect first? Let's look at that first and give
So
us an idea.
we've just started to pilot business charging recently. So we started off just with the consumer or residential product, and we've been piloting it since January of this year. So far, we have around 1,200 plus downloads. The business product is relatively new. We're just starting to pilot it, but essentially, what it does is it helps you manage your EV infrastructure. Now, to answer your question, Matthew, in terms of overheads and for businesses, right? There's two ways to put
Mm,
it. One, of course, there's a lot of grants from SEAI if you're in this part of the border, and of course, ZEVI in the other side of the border. If
yep.
you're a business owner, you have a lot of grants that you could get into. That's one side of it. Second side of it is that I think EV charging is going beyond just an amenity at this point, right? I mean, as an EV driver, right now, if I book a hotel or if I go to a space, that's the
Yeah.
first thing I'm looking whether this has,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
it's no more a check in the box. It's no more a extra. I mean, it is a must have at this point, right? So I think eventually you have to do it with the whole ice car ban. But in terms of your upfront investment and all that, there's a way, of course, you get returns from it, and you can see the returns of it. Now, I wouldn't sell to you that as a business owner you can make a lot of money in EV charging. That's not what I'm here to sell.
Yeah.
But the idea that if you have EV chargers, if you install EV chargers, you will be able to attract the segment of EV drivers to your businesses. With our solution, one of the main things that we are saying is we will help you advertise this as well. So it's not just about, okay, you installing a charger and managing it, with a software, but you also have this ability as a business to advertise it to EV drivers. Now, for us, it's possible because we have a consumer app in the background. So within the background, you can send promotions. You can say, oh, Sunday brunch, 1 hour of free charging to all EV drivers in, let's say, a 5 kilometer radius of this area, and you can push it out to EV drivers within, of course, our platform. But that's kind of one way you can bring in new business revenue, bring in new customers. So the angle for businesses is very simple. We can show a clear return of investment. We can show how this can benefit your business case, how you can make revenue out of it, how you can attract new customers. So there's a clear business case. It is no more about a fancy, you know, amenity or a check in the box anymore for businesses. This is very
Yes.
cool.
It is. It is, and we see it on the Facebook page when people come along and they find a hotel and somewhere that has that AC charging, and people are excited about it because they put it on their list of places that they're going to go to.
Right.
So, as you say, it is ticking the boxes right now for the people that are in the market right now to where they
Yeah.
are going to go. So it does have that sell from that perspective, but also, as you say, it's a business where everybody's looking to see about it. As you say, it's probably not the profit that's going to be made on the charging itself directly, but it's the fact that people are there that's how petrol forecourts work as it is in the
Yeah,
first place. Most of the profits come from what people buy in the shop, not
yeah,
the petrol and
not
diesel
the
sold
fuel.
in the
Yeah,
pump. So, it's the same model, it's just in a shift. It's opening up in many ways the ability for this to come to a lot of other places. So, it's not just localized anymore to the fuel forecourts. It's bringing it up to a much wider audience. So, that's the business side of things. With the individuals, then how does it look for the individual? Then how do we go about it then as the individuals in the home, let's just say,
so,
or what what you would call the home, I suppose, with this
yeah.
system?
For residential users, it's fairly simple. You download the app, you can onboard your EV charger, you can put in information about how much you want to charge. So the idea here is very simple. We make money for transactions. So if a transaction happens, we charge 15% commission, and that's how we make money. So if you're a homeowner, you have a driveway, you have a home charger, all you have to do is download the app, onboard your charger information, how much you want to charge, information about how to access it, parking, and all that. And then, of course, you also connect your bank account details. You don't have to do all of these things at once. As long as you can get the charger information and pricing, you are live. And as you make revenue and income, you can give your banking details. We don't store any of this information. It's all done via Stripe, so it's all secured in that manner. One of the key features for us is that within one single account, you can be a chargee, which means you can charge your EV, or be a host within one user itself. So you don't have to log out and log off for that. And second thing, privacy wise, what we do is it works like Airbnb. So we only share your complete address once you accept the booking. So let's say, Matthew, you have a EV home charger, you've listed it. I am booking it. Let's say, for instance, I'm booking it for 5 hours today evening. Now you get a notification. Now, like a Airbnb host, you have to accept it. So even though you put a schedule, you have to accept it so that I'm coming to charge in your house at this time. So it's not about randomly someone is just parking into your driveway. It is pre-booked. You have to accept it. Only once you accept it, your address is shared with me, and only then I'll be able to drive in. And what we have seen from at least experience so far is in most cases, I live in your neighborhood. The whole destination charging as a use case is still something we haven't seen. Again, we are fairly new into the market. Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We have around, I think, 120, 150 hosts on a platform, which is less considering the market we have in Ireland, but like we are still in those baby steps. Hopefully, the plan is we want to get to 2,000 hosts maybe in the next 6 months and 10 months. And the good thing about that is if we are at 2,000 hosts in, let's say, next 6 to 10 months, we naturally become the biggest charging network in Ireland, or at least closer to it, because ESB is the biggest potentially. I think they
Yeah.
own what, 1,600. I mean, we're not competing here. We're still
Yeah,
young.
I know. It's different, as you say. That's DC. You're in the AC
Yeah,
side of things
yeah,
as it goes with it. But it's very interesting. I suppose there's two things that come to mind for me. One is, when we look across what's going on in the places throughout Europe and the world where charging for EVs and EV adoption is at the forefront, AC is very populous. So you see it in the cities, in particular, the likes of the Netherlands and in the some of the Nordic countries where they are putting in AC in cities where, to go back to the point of DC versus AC, and the conversation is really around DC at the minute, but
yeah,
people are actually looking at it. If you look at it in other countries, the majority of charging and the number of charge points is actually in that AC segment, and it's close to 90% AC in a lot of these cities. When you look at the actual figures of actual charge points, AC makes up 90% of it, and Zevi's documentation on the EV charging network and what's gone on is we have the en route charging, we have the regional and local plan, which is in the draft stage and consultation stuff as it's gone on. They're 50-50 documents, is the way I look at them anyway. We have the en route charging, that's the funding we're seeing at the minute, that's the big announcements we have at the minute.
yeah,
The regional and local plans, which is that AC side of things, that's coming. So as you say, where you are now is where you are now, but it's coming. It's getting much bigger from that perspective. But and just to jump back to with that AC, with that home charging, just to go back to that for a second, I was just thinking was when we look at the fact that somebody is looking to do this and build it up, as you say, you're more likely to be a neighbor in many cases at this
That's
point in
correct.
time, rather than being somebody who is in that, traveling to somewhere that isn't their home. So in many ways, it probably is a thing that is serving the local area much better than it is on a, yeah, a bigger scheme just at this point in time.
It is. It is. It is. I mean, we call it community EV charger sharing for that exact reason, because at the end of the day, 90% of the use is going to be people in your surroundings, in your gated community, nearby folks. Because see, the idea of GoPlugable is simple. You book and leave your car for charging in your neighbor's house or driveway, and walk back to your home. Right. I mean, that walk might be 200 meters, it might be a kilometer or more, but ideally that's the scenario. Because I mean, going back to my own, so I've actually met people again driving Nissan Leafs where they used to live in a rented house, and the house was old that they wouldn't even dare plugging in the 3-pin charger because they were like it might catch fire. And I know people who have completely dependent on ESP chargers. I mean, nothing against it, but the idea that on a day-to-day basis they have to go there, plug it in, wait, sit in the car. I did that for a considerable part of my my EV journey as well. So that's not the best experience, honestly speaking. And the whole idea here is very simple. You leave your car there overnight or for a couple of hours, you walk back home, you don't have to be worried about it. So that's kind of the perspective that this whole thing goes to. So it is essentially charger sharing. And I think Zevi
Yes.
also understands the importance of this because a lot of their recent programs have been very community oriented. There's a community hub model coming where you can plug
Yep.
in e-scooters, e-cars, all of that. Plus, there's also a recent tender that's we are also hoping to be a part of, where they're actually running a charger sharing pilot. So, essentially, hopefully,
Okay.
we might come back with that news in maybe a couple of months. Where if we get to do that
Yes. Yes.
with
Yes.
Zevi, that's also a pilot that they're looking to understand. Because I mean, Ireland, at the end of the day, at least in major cities, it is a rental market. Most of the people are renters, so they don't really have access to EV home charger, and there's a huge conversation going around. What do you do when you don't have a driveway? What do you do when you don't have
Yeah.
access to a charger? So it is a work in progress.
Absolutely. It is a big one insofar as those sort of people are the ones that we tend to. I, I wouldn't say it's more regular at this point in time, but they are the people that are coming back to us, are the individuals in the homes where they can't install a home charger. That's becoming a bit more common in the queries that we're getting. And not to say that it wasn't something that came up previously and that this is new, but I would say that as things have progressed in the last little 6 to 9 months, for argument's sake, it's starting to get a bit more where we're starting to see more of that coming along. So you're right. We're going to see more of it in the next while. Um, I think until things progress with that AC charging and that network as it rolls out, we're going to need. Um, it's going to be a tougher ask for those people in those apartments and in those homes where they don't have a home charger. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that way. So I'm going to say you had done the survey last year. Just go back to that. Was there interesting stats in that you felt were important to highlight for people to be aware of?
Yeah, I think I think most important thing was for EV drivers. We did ask them, "Are you going back to? Would you consider going back to ICE?" I think almost all of them were, like they were surprised even that question was there. And I mean, not just about survey. When we even talk one on one with EV drivers, uh, no one would want to switch back to ICE cars. I mean, there are problems. Nothing is perfect. That's there, but the driving
Yeah.
experience you can't beat it at the end of the day.
No.
Going back to survey, few important things I think were there was a lot of there still needs more work around the grants, I think, in terms of awareness levels for folks. And one of the interesting thing, at least for us, was the business charging side of it, where when we did ask EV drivers about their frequency of visiting a business, around 63% of people said we would frequent a business if they had EV chargers or that as a solution. That was one of the most interesting things, and I think a lot of people, obviously I don't remember the exact stat, weren't particularly fan of going back to ICE cars. A lot of them wanted a lot more effort from government, but again, you know I know it's easy to just say, put
Yeah,
government is not doing enough. I think as private individuals and business owners, it is also our duty. And I think if you look at UK, that's what's happening. I remember looking at UK 12 months back, the public charging infrastructure was bad. Now they've doubled
yeah,
it up 12 months or more, and
yeah,
that's mostly owing to private participation. So I think in Ireland as well, we as business owners, as private individuals, as EV drivers ourselves, we ourselves have a things that we can do. I'm not gonna put a sales plug here saying download Plugable and do it, but
yeah.
I guess there's a lot we can do, rather than just saying, oh yeah, government needs to do this and that.
Yep. Oh yeah, I think everybody has a bit they can do and a part they can play. Absolutely. I think everybody has a bit of action that they can do on their own side. There is government incentive and help that needs to be put into place as well. But I'd agree. We all have a bit that we can do on our own side to make the difference. Um, I'm gonna move on to something as the next video now. I'm gonna segue into it is the electric circle. You run events that is called the electric circle. I'll let you give a description on it, but the thing I'm going to say is I was at the last one that you had in Dublin, and not the most recent one, but the one I
Yeah,
was at was the one in Dublin. um, Dave Humphreys made a very interesting comment at his bit of conversation when he was talking towards the end of it, insofar as he said if he was buying a car and he was going to have it for his everyday vehicle, he would probably going towards an EV because he made the point that they drive better, they're just that bit easier in traffic being automatic, they're smoother, they're more comfortable. He talked about the benefit of the vehicle itself. So outside of the charging network, outside of all of the other bits that people can pick holes into, when he talked about what was fundamentally a vehicle that is good for
yeah,
what it can be, he said an EV is the one that he would pick. So I found that really interesting to hear him say that, and not prompted by myself or anybody else there in an EV for him to say that. He said it himself. So it was fantastic to see somebody like him talk about it. Now, I'm sure he can pick holes in certain EVs and in other things that go with it. But the fact that he said if he was looking at something and he was going in that direction, it came from that. So the point is, I found that really interesting from somebody like Dave Humphreys, who spends his time just reviewing cars
yeah.
as to what he does and in it. But Dave Humphreys was there today at the Electric Circle. So give people an idea of what the Electric Circle is, because this is beyond just GoPlugable as a company
Yeah.
trying to do this AC charging, this community charging. Tell people about what's going on this side of things.
So I think in the last 12 months, if you look at it, specifically, there's been a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to EVs and in general, around electric vehicles and green tech. I mean, you put anything on the topic, people just say it's greenwashing, even even without looking at the facts. Now, what we wanted to do was just put a platform out there, where you could ask questions, and get the right answers, in an unbiased, neutral kind of a way. Now, we all do that on a day-to-day basis, online and offline as well. But we thought it would be good to bring these people together as a community, and I think you felt that as well, which is why you are also a part of it. So you know a lot of businesses and people within the industry felt the need for something like that, and that's how we kind of started doing this. It's called Electric Circle. Essentially, it's a community based event. We want to bring a small cohort of people, maybe around 50 people, not an exhibition format, very informal, very personal kind of a event where you would have key influencers and decision makers and just EV drivers, for example, or consumers. So it's not just about EVs; it's also about solar and green technologies in general. So if you're someone who is, still sitting at the fence thinking whether this is right for me, finding a lot of this misinformation online and not sure what to do, Electric Circle is where you can come and talk to people like, let's say, yourself, Matthew, or me, or people like Brittany, who just bought a new EV few months back. And you can hear from them about their experience. And then after you hear from them, you can walk up to them and ask, is this good for me? Right? So the whole idea here was this very informal information sharing setup, which we could do on a monthly basis as an offline event. So the plan is, if we could do potentially one event per city, every quarter. So the idea was, I think we did one last in Belfast in July. The
Yeah,
one before was in Dublin. The one before was in Drogheda. We're planning another one now in Cork. So if you're listening in and if you're someone in Cork, I'm
yeah,
looking for some suggestions of venue and partners. So it's a non-profit kind of an initiative. You know, we all pool in resources, be it money or time, to promote this event, to bring people together, to bring speakers together. So we are looking to work with business partners to bring businesses and consumers together to one platform to get that information sharing going. That's all we're doing. We're not selling
yeah.
GoPlugable, or we're not selling any particular brand there. It's a neutral place, but at the same time, you have the movers and shakers around. So, Matthew, last time you were there, you can see we had brands like My Energy, Omi, Radius Vehicle Solution, DCEV, um, Tesla, Volvo, BYD. So this is a place where you can come speak to other drivers, test drive vehicles, see up close these vehicles, ask even silly questions. There's nothing silly or wrong
Yeah,
here. You
yeah,
can get all of that answer in a personal way without having to feel, oh, this is not possible to talk. So it's a very informal setup. As we speak, I'm just working on the website there of Electric Circle. Until now, we didn't have any of that, so we are getting all of that
to get
sorted.
it on there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So hopefully we'll have more of these. The next one is in Cork in September is the plan. So if you're out there, we want to be a part of it, reach out to me on that as well.
yeah. I thought it was a fantastic day to have people there from solar PV installers to ourselves, ourselves at the EV Association, but My Energy and DCEV test drives, being able to do so much in the one space where people could feel comfortable and go and just talk and see what was going on. Um, EVs are going to play a much bigger part than just vehicles. There's a much bigger ecosystem in behind them that people maybe don't realize. If they do realize it, it's a fantastic thing to be aware of when you can see the information that's in behind it and the things that can be done to make your life um, better and to pull it all into a much bigger ecosystem. So, like again, Electric Circle, I have to say, it's a fantastic way of doing things. As you say, it gets people offline. It's all in person, all sitting down, talking to people, having a conversation on it that way is a fantastic way of doing things. So it's definitely one to check out. As you say, the one in Cork that's coming soon, I would recommend to people to go have a look. It is definitely a good way of doing things. So, um, we're I'm going to say we're getting towards the end. We have a question on the side. We'll come to that in a minute. Before we get to that, we'll just look at it from kind of towards the end. When you're trying to work with businesses or homes to get a solution for these companies, like what's your end call out? What's your end bit to say to these people? What do you want them to know from Go Plugable to say this is where we're at? This is what we're here for.
So I think at the end of the day, we want to get more people switched to electric. I mean, that's the vision we are working towards. And the initial problem we are trying to solve is for folks without driveways and
Yeah,
rented kind of a setup. But like you said, this is not just a solution for that. This is also a solution for any EV driver, because if you drive EV, you want cheap slow charges most of the time rather than fast, quick, go, expensive stuff. So
Mm.
essentially, we are trying to help more people switch to electric, and find bookable and cheaper EV charging solutions, which kind of also takes away the whole range anxiety, because once you book and the host
Yes.
puts it, it's there. You can go there, no surprises or anything. No one will be using it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
that guarantee is there. So for EV drivers, I would say Go Plugable is all about that reliable, slow and bookable charging solution. For host or folks with EV chargers, be it homes and business owners, this is a way to unlock your EV charger. So you've already spent, let's say, 1,000 quid on installing them, so unlock it. And when I say unlock it, what I mean by that is, if you live in a city, semi-urban settings with
Yeah.
parking, you can easily make around 2,000, 3,000 quid a year after your electricity cost. In rural, maybe 1,000, 1,500 a year, if all goes well. I mean, I'm just drawing an optimistic line here. So unlock your
Okay.
EV charger, get that passive income, help your neighbors switch to electric because you love electric cars as well. For business owners, of course, um, use EV charging as a marketing tool, because you'll get more walk-ins.
Yep.
That's as simple as that.
Yep. Yep. Fantastic. On that, we have a question here from Michael. I'll pull it up here. And does the end of the 8 hour off peak charging windows with the installation of smart meters not throw a spanner in the works of this business plan? So my off peak charging window is 4 hours. Some only have three. So yeah, we're seeing this shift to smart meter plans where that real cheap window is quite a narrow one in the grand scheme of things. I would say my own personal situation based on my own EV, I need more than that 3 or 4 hour window typically each night. So I know I have a different plan on my side, but that's what's there. Talk us through what that would look like for the individual, I
Yeah,
suppose.
in our current scenario, we don't recommend that you pass on too much of that to someone who's looking to charge it. So, see, for example, if I'm a EV driver, don't have a home charger, my current option is to go into an ESB charger and plug in for, what is it, 50 cents roughly. The cheapest one would be somewhere around that, or 55 cents
Yeah.
for a normal AC charger. As long as you can offer something cheaper than that, you don't have to pass on the entire benefits out. Like, for example, your night rate or the off peak rate might be, I don't know, 15 cents or even less, or 20 cents. You can still resell this at 40 cents, make a good decent margin on that. You don't have to pass the entire benefits there. But if you are in that mood, you can do that in the sense, um, within our backend, there's two ways of doing it. One, you can schedule, so you can say that during these times, this is my rate. So
Yes.
let's say Monday 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. This is my rate. 10 p.m. to this. So you can set that. That's one of the things. Second things, again, this is still a work in progress. Even not from even our side, but even from a utility company side, there's there's going to be a lot of interesting changes coming in utility pricing in the next 12, 20 months. And one of
Oh,
that is,
less.
yeah, dynamic
Yeah.
pricing and API. So what that means is, i- if we know that your, let's say, utility provider is, let's say, I don't know, Energy or SSC or whoever it is, we can get their live APIs, which means we know the dynamic pricing of your household, and we can change the pricing on on our end based on this as well. So once that goes live, it'll be much more
Okay.
interesting. But
Yeah.
Michael, to answer your question, it doesn't really affect our business plan at the end of the day, because you as the host decide what the end pricing is. We have little to no control of it. We give you recommendations, but yeah, the recommendation is simple: be cheaper than your neighborhood ESB
Yeah.
charger. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good point, and it's always nice to have that recommendation. I suppose people might feel they don't have that information to hand; they might not know what to do with it. So having a recommendation there is a great way of doing it, and that time of use, that fluctuation in price, and that's a fantastic thing. So, um, okay, last question: how do people sign up? What do they do?
Yeah, so the easiest thing is, just go into goplugable.com, just or search for us, or go to your. I mean, the easiest thing is take your phone, go to App Store, download the app. You can search for Plugable or GoPlugable and find us, download it. It'll take you, if you're looking to charge, it'll roughly take you a minute, under a minute to onboard. If you're looking to host, which means we need more information of you, photos, your
Yes.
charger info, that onboarding takes a bit more time, but you can, quickly go live. Once you put your information, we approve it, and you can quickly be live on the platform. So just search for GoPlugable on your app stores. That's the easiest way to download it. There's one last question there,
One
Matthew.
last question. We'll take the last question and go with this one because, yeah, it's one that people will ask. And what about house insurance if someone else's car is parked charging on my driveway?
Yeah, so for the time being, our role is as a marketplace. So we leave it the onus back to the host or the house owners, existing home insurance or risk in terms of that. But one of the things we have ready in the background is we are going to give a blanket insurance coverage to host and charges, just like Airbnb does, wherein both you as a host and someone who's charging your car has a blanket coverage in terms of trip falls or any sort of insurance claims.
Yes.
Of
Yeah.
course, we don't have it ready now, but that's kind of something in the works in the background. For now, the onus goes back to you as a host to be responsible. The thing you have to understand, like I said, is this is a community initiative. People who are going to use your charger app, ideally in your neighborhood, they wouldn't want to piss you off because they don't have an EV home charger, which is why they're coming
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a very valid question.
It is. It is. But I think that's probably where things are going to be at the time being. Is it's that community side of things. People are going to want something that is reliable, they can use. If they know they have that place they can go and charge, you would hope that people are going to maintain it in a way, or not abuse it from that perspective. So yeah, that's, we should
Yeah,
look at it
yeah.
that way, I suppose. Yeah.
I mean, we can say stuff like, oh yeah, we have a rating system for a host. I mean, yeah, those things are there. I mean, it works. But I think the most important thing is, at the end of the day, you're my neighbor. I ideally want to book your charger for at least 2 days or 3 days a week,
Mm.
for my
Yep.
use case, and I would put it in your convenience, and I'm depending on you in most of these instances.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a one and done type
Yeah,
scenario. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, Andreen, thank you very much. This was a fantastic conversation. I enjoyed this. It's always interesting to see the ins and outs of what's going on in these sort of things. I think, as you said earlier on, with Maeve coming in from an external perspective, it's good to have that voice that comes in. We're interested in these sort of things, so we enjoy these conversations. We enjoy going through these things, so it's always something that's brilliant in that perspective. So I hope people have taken a lot from it here this evening. So before I let you go, I would say thank you very much to yourself. Thank you.
No, likewise, thanks for having me, Matthew. And obviously, as being part of the association, we always look forward to work with the group, helping me put more people switch to electric. So, if you're listening in, guys, be part of the group as well. The Facebook group is pretty active. Any questions you have, however silly you think, you'll find the right answers there. So come and be part of that. And of course, the association is just beyond the group itself. There's a lot more
Yeah,
activities going on the background. Of course, electric circle is one of these initiatives. This event that we're doing right now is one such initiative as well. So in that regard, hopefully if you are an EV driver, be part of it. If you are in the fence, again, engage more, get the right information, and potentially we'll all help you to switch to electric. So thanks for having me. Have a great night, Matthew.
thank you very much. Thank you, Andreen. So with that, we're going to leave it here this evening. We leave it with the final comment. Well done, great chat. Thank you very much for that comment. It was fantastic to speak and chat with Andreen this evening from GoPlugable. Folks, we're here every month is the plan, unless we decide to take next month off because it's into that summer holiday period and we're going to try to do stuff. But ideally, we're going to be back next month and talk about another topic, get into something else. We're here to give people information to make it that you have somewhere to come and see what's going on and get a better understanding of things that are going on. We're going to hopefully see a lot more coming from GoPlugable, and we will be chatting to him again. But for now, thank you very much for everybody that has tuned in, and we will talk to you soon.